day 1430. And um yeah, let's check to see if I'm on Facebook before make sure everything's working properly. Okay. Make sure I have testing. Yeah, I hear myself. Okay. So thank you for coming on so late. Didn't mean to come on so late. I thought I was going to come on like an hour ago, but it couldn't be helped because it's been 1,430 days since Richard was murdered there on Fort Bliss, on the Fort Bliss footprint. There's so much overwhelming evidence, and we want to talk about that, but people have to understand, and this is why um, you know, Team Justice for Richard Halliday is willing to come on live every day, put it on record through all of our communications with all of the government agencies and law enforcement that Richard was murdered on Fort Bliss in July of 2020, and that has been confirmed by the U.S. government. Okay, so um, and we don't have his body. We don't have his body because the criminal justice system in El Paso is broken. When you have a chief medical examiner that is illegal, up to no good, unqualified for the position, and he has been allowed to be in that position since 2014 with the help of Representative Veronica Escobar, who was then Judge Veronica Escobar for the county commissioners, with Joanne Bernal, that approved and even defended this individual who's up to no good to be and to stay as chief medical examiner, making right now, I mean, in 2023, $438,000 plus dollars a year, 752% more than the average person makes. And I believe that's what it said on there, 752. It was like this amazing number, percent more than the average person makes there in El Paso. And it's just one botched case after the next. And we don't have Richard's remains. And this individual is in charge of remains. Okay? Even for Fort Bliss. You wouldn't think so, but even for Fort Bliss. So we have asked about all of this. And, um, we're waiting. We're waiting. So I want to really talk about why we're coming on so late, what has been going on the last few days, this amazing amount of information that has come to us, that we broke yesterday, the exclusive communications between James Courtney Hart and Leilani Hart, corroborating long history, family history of illegal sexual activities with children, with one another, and confirming what this is. And I don't want to get into it so much. You can read it on our site, but it confirms Leilani Hart, who she put that in July of 2022, 2020, sorry. Also, she filed this criminal complaint affidavit that confessed sexual assault of a 7-year-old in her home. So that means she she did not timely report that sexual assault. She waited almost 2 years. And you see, surrounding Richard's murder, why she'd put this in there is very suspect. And who helped her? Tavita Nusa, her family member who she was sexually involved with. That's not me saying it. Okay? That's not me saying it. And he's in the CID. And they're talking about being in possession of porn in that affidavit, illegal purchase of weapons, life-threatening threats, her immigration status in question, incest in the family. And so you have the communication between James Hart and Leilani Hart, Dallas Hart's parents, and you have the affidavit that was accepted by the FBI, right? The FBI accepted this, and they never arrested her. And now we have corroborating evidence of this family secret that, I guess people didn't want to expose, right? I guess they didn't want to expose this because the CID agent, Tavita Nusa, is part of the family, right? He's part of this family. And he, and remember this, he was on Richard's case. He was one of the investigators in Richard's case. Now, something is very, very wrong with that. And so what has happened lately, is just trying to make sure people have the right information. And if you want the right information, you need to come here, because we are in possession of evidence that is not in the CID file. Okay? Why? Because at the national level, we have it all recorded, the confirmation by CID at the national level, the highest level. Is that the highest level, the national level? It's anyway. The national level confirming that Richard's case has been tampered with, that it is an unreliable file because it is botched. That CID file is botched. And because of fear of tampering, continued tampering, and leaking, misuse, we have the information. We have the information. So any reliance on that botched CID file is alone, okay, you can glean some information from that, but to rely on that alone without coming to the family and communicating with the family, speaking with the family before reporting on this case is, I think, I would call it a false witness. I would call it a false story. A false witness story, a fake story, because when you don't have the facts that can change the whole situation in the case, then you're reporting a false story. So I want to make sure that everyone understands that we have the recording that confirms at a national level that the CID file on Richard is a botched investigation, and just you cannot rely on it alone. I would say that. I'm looking for a word, and I think it would be like a compromised investigation. It's a compromised file. And this is leads to another very important point in all of this. The prime suspects in Richard's case, right, those that are up to no good, have been impersonating our family to give the law enforcement community false information. So, that the crime just keeps mounting with the impersonators. And when another thing is they have been used as witnesses in the case, and they are prime suspects. So what kind of weight would you give their testimonies? So, and it's absolutely, we know that through Anthony Swafford, right? We know that through him, that there was false information given out at the guard mount to the MPs there on Fort Bliss. So he is an important witness in this case. I don't know if he knows this, but he's a very important witness in this case, because his documented statements that false information was being peddled through the guard mount to the military police on Fort Bliss is so damning for the CID, because the CID is now confirmed to be compromised. And of course they have a conflict of interest. Of course they are prime suspects. They are prime suspects. Tavita Noose is a prime suspect himself in the murder of our son. So, and he lost his badge, right? He was separated from the military. So that is really, really important. The other news that has come up is a unit member witnessing that Richard, by a group, multiple individuals, forced Richard's removal out of his bed, out of his barracks room. And that's a very important witness statement too. So, there is a lot of information that is coming in. There's also those that were involved in some of the suspects that are coming forward now saying, oh wow, I was misled, I didn't understand what was going on. So there are people, because this is the thing, they understand that this is a capital murder case. that they cannot not speak up and tell what their role was in all of this, really to clear their name, because absolutely the suspects in Richard's murder case was pulling a psyop, was manipulating individuals, was putting out misinformation to individuals to get individuals to do certain things. And maybe that's what happened to Dallas Hart. I don't know, because these communications between James and Leilani Hart are so damning, and do not tell me that they don't know about them. And I have to take it back. I think Dallas Hart absolutely, he's a prime suspect in the murder. He is the prime suspect in the murder of Richard. You can't be platoon leader and have control over Richard, control over his barracks room, control over his whereabouts, control over his possessions. Okay? That means his phone, his game, his computer, his all of this, it's a big deal. He could not be unaware of the intentions, the really harmful intentions. And to have the affidavit corroborated, and the affidavit has in there deadly threats, okay? Deadly threats. To have that corroborated, it continues to mount the evidence to show a propensity to do physical harm. And that is all there. That is all there. So I think the message for tonight, and I'm so sorry for coming on so late again, it just can't be helped. And we had this fantastic day today here. And I really thought that I could get on a little bit earlier. But the evidence keeps mounting. People keep reaching out. And they're starting to realize that what we're saying is like a warning. Like a warning. A very careful warning. And an understanding warning. That many unit members, people in the system that witness things were told, like Anthony Swafford, were told false information to mislead them, to manipulate them. And let me tell you what Anthony Swafford did as an MP. What he said to us was absolutely disgusting and showed a real lack of training as a military police, a real lack of training, a real lack of the Medal of Honor ethos, a real lack of military creed, leadership, the Band of Brothers, a real lack of that kind of esprit de corps. It was really, really terrible. But he's a young man, and he can rally, and he can learn from that. He can learn, and he can rally, and he can become a better man. I truly believe that, because I truly believe that he was absolutely fed misinformation and was surrounded by people up to no good that gave him false training or lacking training. And so he is a major witness in all of this. And really, I really want the best for him. As much as he hurt us, and he did, it was terrible. I don't think he had a malicious intent. In fact, I know he didn't have a malicious intent. I think he was scared stiff and and manipulated to respond the way he responded. So this is why he's a perfect example. It's, last night I used a game that the boys and I used to play together. In Ireland, the winters are very, very, the days are very short, the nights are very long. And so, we used to play a Nintendo game called Zelda Skyward Sword, The Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword. And in that, at the beginning of it, were these bullies, right? These bullies, and they were also imposters. When they got around Zelda, they would, pretend to be someone that they were not. They were real bullies. And they had plotted to harm Link, who was, your player or whatever, to kidnap his bird, his, like the car, right? That was his transportation, and kidnap it and do harm so he could not travel, not participate. And this one character in this was like, oh, I was in the dining hall and I overheard them plot and everything. And, I am so sorry. I was too scared because, when they noticed that I was there, they threatened me and they, told me they were going to do this and this to me and harm me if I told you what they had done, what they were doing. And that's, I remembered that, and I thought that is exactly what has happened in Richard's case. And today, I don't know if telling that last night relayed a message to people of how we understand what happened, but today we were approached with exactly something like that. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I didn't realize that they were up to no good. I had the feeling, and I knew well, they knew that they were up to no good, but they did not know how to respond to it. There's a fear. There's a fear of retaliation. And it's just like that one soldier that we went to his house after he was screaming at us. And we're like, well, what do you know? And he was just shaking. He was just absolutely in total fear. So, and of course, Anthony Swafford, and of course, Jonathan, what's his name? Jonathan, it'll come to me. Not Jonathan Embreeze, the other Jonathan, the unit member. Just his Facebook was just one of fear and retaliation. He admitted to being retaliated against, and so there was a lot of fear because there was real retaliation. And we are absolutely reaching out to those people, saying, we understand we've been retaliated against ourselves. Of course, Richard paid with his life for standing up to these traffickers, to these bullies, these criminals. And, why would you want to surround yourself with these criminals? And that leads me to Bob Moore. Bob Moore has failed to communicate with us, has failed to even respond to our over 15 attempts to communicate with him. And so it's not like our cease and desist was, you know, just a rash decision, a rash move. No, we attempted to communicate with him, and he refused to communicate with us. And, as a journalist that does not have the full story and wants to report on Richard's death story without speaking to family who have the casualty report, who has all the other information, because a lot of information was not after the national level CID, and I have to differentiate between the national level CID and Fort Bliss CID, right? After they confirmed that Richard's file was compromised and botched, then a lot of information did not go in that because of the fear of the leaking, of the fear of the misuse. So, and I don't know if fear is the right word. The probability, the continuation of the leaking and the misuse. And so, to align yourself with those that don't have the whole story, that don't have the evidence. They don't have the communications between James and Leilani Hart. I don't think they do. It's not in the CID. They do not have the witness testimony of the unit member, of Richard being forcefully removed out of his bed, out of his room, from the barracks. They don't have that. And there's, a lot more. So to not come to the source of the information, which is the family, because we are the lead investigators. We have been the investigators, and to not come to us, because even though all of this information has been documented, that's why we have the recordings, and sent to the authorities, that they absolutely know this. They absolutely know all this information. But this case, is beyond that CID report. It is beyond that. It is a capital murder case now. And I think that in Texas, you don't want to take a chance with being on the suspect side of a capital murder case. And this is what Bob Moore is doing, which I think is, why is he doing that? That's so risky. So risky. He's, unless something else is going on. But he's absolutely on the wrong side. on the wrong side. And it's, yeah. We absolutely have done and will continue to do whatever we can to get his attention, to communicate with him, and document all of that so that there will be no misunderstanding on what has happened in our son's case. So I hope that makes sense. And thank you so much, Anicia, for your prayers and your love. And we're coming in 4 minutes until Richard's birthday. 25 years old. He would be 25 years old. And robbed of his life. But I think that his legacy, his memory, he's going to be known for, I think, changing El Paso, changing Fort Bliss, for standing up against those that want to hurt children. And absolutely, with this communication between James Hart and Leilani Hart, the CPS complaints that Richard was making and communicating with FBI Houston, which is the human trafficking, absolutely corroborates that he was standing up for the children. And that's, I'm so proud of him for that. I really am. So he's in a very good place, and but I'm still so sad because I miss him. Okay, everyone, thank you so much. God bless you. I will be back tomorrow, God willing, and please forward this message to get the message out. Thank you. Bye-bye.